And we're back with the first roundtable of Group B. Animated Jay, could you remind everybody what the topic for today's roundtable is?
Totally, totally. So it's in person versus camera, pros, cons, and things to be consciously aware of. So I know this one of the Glovers that we just saw, Emotive, I believe Jump, there was a comment you said about in person it would be different versus on camera. So I'm kind of curious of what do you mean by that? Like in the gloving world, what are the differences seeing a show in person versus camera? You know, the pros, the cons, things to be aware of.
So the differences between the pros and cons. I mean, again, I feel like with seeing a light show in person, you're getting the whole feel of like, what they're putting off to you. It's kind of like you're connecting with the person. So, again, you're putting yourself out there for the light show, you're connecting with the person who you're giving it to. You can ask some questions before you give the light show and this and that, and also like, kind of tell the story to them, and also, you're telling something about yourself. On camera, you're kind of just, going with the music and, telling yourself there, but you have these whole things of being like there's so much more space to be able to use when you're in person, but like again, you have to be cautious of how you're using it, because if you're doing a light show all out here in person, it's really not going to make any sense. You really want to get like, up close and with the person. Camera, same type of thing. You don't want to be too far out here. You want to be so close as much as you can to where it's still in frame.
Hmm.
I think I want to add to that real quick. I think it also comes to the point of it. There's an inverse relationship too of like if with on camera you can't be too close, and in person you can't be too far, because if you're too close on camera you're gonna be out of frame, and if you're too far in person, then the viewer has to literally refocus their eyes to see the light so far back. Whereas opposed to if you can keep their attention in front of your head, right, or like level with your head, right? And
Mm.
then
Yeah.
from here forward, if you can keep that, then you're doing a good job. Especially for in person, because because the person doesn't have to work hard. Because of where light
Yeah.
shows came from, it's supposed to be an entrancing act. So the less a person has to actually work, the easier it is for them to fall into said trance. So
Yeah, because when you're like it's like how he's talking about like, the space and everything, when you're in person, when you're giving the light show, when you start going off into the distance and whatever, that's when you start to see the people lose focus and lose interest in your light shows. That's just kind of like how it is. I feel like, because I feel like when things like that happen, when I'm getting a light show and I see that happen, I'm losing interest slowly but surely.
Hmm. Interesting.
Yeah,
Les, what are your thoughts?
Miss Strobe
just
caged me to death.
just just I was literally telling someone, they're like, "Oh, let's go to a party." And I'm like, "No, because I want to strobe cage someone and look in their eyes and watch their eyes roll back. I can't be that close during COVID." But uh that's how in-person light shows are. I mean, for impacting especially, it's so much of eye manipulation in my eyes. So when, like, say I have a hold here, I could bring their attention back here, but I will not turn this on until I see their eyes actually move
Hmm.
to the other side. Then I'll turn this on and they have to redirect and surprise. So things like that, you can't really capture on camera. There's a lot of parts of impacting that they just don't hit the same. Um, but in terms of other light shows, I think videos, there's so much potential with them, as we see in dancing with choreography, and with light shows produced by, actually really good video editing and everything like that. People choose their songs. They study their songs. I
Hmm.
don't go to the festival and know every song that's playing when I give light shows, right? So I think
Mhm.
musicality also comes in from in-person light shows, because in-person light shows, musicality is really based on impromptu ability to adjust to music. And with videos, you have so much more of the ability to prepare, get so emotionally attached to the show, to the song, that like when you give the show, you can pour your heart out. And that's why some of my favorite event shows are given to songs I actually know. Like if I hear one of my favorite songs come on, I'm like, let's get this. We got to get this recorded,
So it sounds like in person there's it's more it's like this authentic, this more real feel in person. That's one of the pros. And then it sounds like, and again, correct me, if I'm misinterpreting this. It sounds like when it's a show on camera, it seems to be more prepared and thought out. Like you have that advantage to really set up what you want to show the viewer. But then again, were you saying that with impacting, it's difficult? Would you say it's more difficult to give a show, an impact show on a camera versus in person?
100%. 100%. Because so much of impacting is as I said, like eye manipulations, like you want to be able to surprise them. How are you supposed to surprise a camera? Camera's not, you can't see where their eyes are at. You can't see if they're if they react to a certain type of move. And that goes along with other aspects of gloving. If someone really loves tutting, then you could be like, oh, like we both love tutting, like let's fucking let's go full out and throw like heavy touches, and when you're throwing to a camera, it's very much how you want to present yourself to anyone who would watch it, not a specific person.
I see. Jump, what are your thoughts again, like when you're giving a show in person versus on camera? Like what are the things you may consider?
I want to add in real quick. Jump is absolutely the queen of at event shows. If you ever see her if you have ever seen her at a festival pre-COVID at all, ever, no matter, I don't care if the company doesn't allow gloves, I don't care if everybody else got their gloves taken, I don't care if there's 50,000 people there, I will find Jump. She will have gloves. She will be giving light shows. It has been that way since 2008, and it is still going strong. So I just want to point that out real quick before she gets into her spiel about event shows. But go ahead, Jump. Go off.
Ain't nobody stopping me. That's all I gotta say. Pull up to a function, where I know it's me and gloving friends. Right now it's pre-COVID, whatever, but we're just meeting up. Maybe 10 of us. Guess who has their gloves? Hey sister, can I borrow your gloves? I guess, yeah. What setting do you want? But back onto the main topic. So Adam and Jay, you're asking me the pros and cons between in person and off the camera. So again, like how Les was just saying, like, catch her at a festival or whatever, like that type of light show. If you know the song, you're gonna like deliver it so well. For me, I feel like cam light shows, it's like how you were saying, you have time to basically put it together. You have not just one take, you can have as many takes as you want, because you can do that light show, premeditate it, deliver it again, re-record it, and run the tape. You go through as many takes as you want until you get that light show that you want. So you don't know if it's a true original light show, if you know what I'm saying. On the floor, on the dance floor, whatever, in person, those are like, that's kind of like, right there, right now. You have to deliver it and be able to connect, whatever you're doing and really put it out there. So for me, I love event light shows. So it's like if I'm at my stage or whatever, or like, the music that I'm familiar with, I can basically, again, how you said, transition into it. It may not be like, the beat drop's about to happen right now. If its bass is too heavy, I may just like, stop for a second. I'll be like waiting, and I'll just be like, okay, 1 second, like we're just like waiting for that quick second, like in that song, and then once I hear that like tone coming, I'm like, all right, here we go, and it's like bam.
Got you, got you. Nice. I'm loving the similarities and also the minor differences of the approaches of how you guys go about your shows. Um, I wanna, you know what, Teddy, I wanna really pick your mind. I haven't really asked you the question or turned the question for you, but how do
Not
you
think of one
approach,
yet. No.
how do you approach a show in person versus the same question I've been asking Lust and Jump? How would you approach a show?
Well, they kind of hit the nail on the head. You guys have talked about most of it. The idea is that you can, with a video, you have control, and with an in-person light show, you must have resolve and you must have adaptability. If I'm at and Jump actually brought up a perfect example of something. The first thing that comes to mind is that if I'm giving a show at an event, there are quite often times where I will tell the person, like, they'll be sitting there waiting for light show, and they'll be waiting for me to start, and I'll be like, hold on, wait 1 second, I'm listening, right?
Mm,
And I will let them know I am listening. Give me a moment, and I let the I kind of I have to, like, I think of it like when you're merging onto a freeway, right? When you're merging onto a freeway, the traffic is going at 65, 70, 75 miles an hour. When you're merging onto the freeway, you have to accelerate from 35 to 75 miles an hour. If I'm at a festival and I'm just enjoying the festival itself, right?
mhm,
I'm at 35 miles an hour. I'm good. I'm having a good time, whatever. Someone asks me for a light show, I'm getting on the freeway. And the
mm,
song is going 75 when we're on that freeway. So I have to take a second and I have to catch myself up to freeway traffic so that I can get on board and come in correctly. Or as opposed, because if I don't, and I have done this before where I don't do that, I just come in and I'm just like, and 30 seconds later, I'm like, I totally forgot where I was. I don't know what I need to do. What did I already do already? Like, it happens. It used to happen all the time. Doesn't happen that much anymore because my knee's destroyed, and light shows don't exactly happen in person too much. But um, when it did happen frequently, that was something that I definitely made conscious of early, and I definitely tried to um, emulate. Is that in person, if I don't know the song, I'm going to take my time and learn it in the moment, even if and usually that only takes, like, 5, 6, 8, 10 seconds, whatever. So it's not too crazy.
nice, nice. And I love the description of the highway metaphor, listening, and then you have to, kind of you're waiting, and it's like, okay, I'm gonna speed up now instead of just jumping straight into it.
Mhm.
On the topic of giving a light show in person or on a, recording, what about judging a light show in person or as we are doing now, these recordings? As what is that experience like for you guys, especially?
I'll take this
Y-
one for
Yeah, go ahead.
start
I
start
was gonna
off.
say, yeah, go ahead.
um, in my opinion, they're completely different. I enjoy critiquing videos more than in-person shows because in-person shows are just it's so hard to just watch it one time and just have to critique a long list of attributes, you know?
Mhm,
Just having to take because you want to enjoy it for what it is. And I think that's why I typically like doing online comps because I can watch the video more than once if I need to, you know? If I really am if I'm really, is this a 3 or a 4 on this portion? You know what? I'll just rewatch it, you know? If I'm that on the fence, I enjoy the fact that I can rewatch it and give a more honest score opposed to in person where say uh I'm not known for musicality by any means. And
mhm.
I get to musicality and I'm like, oh, I was focusing on like literally everything except musicality. No, no, no. I haven't actually come across that. But I feel like that is something that
It's not
is very
uncommon.
hard. it's very hard about judging in-person shows, especially if you have a lot of categories on the list. Which is why I think the whole movement towards having judges judge only 3 categories or only 4 categories is a really nice transition. I think that's how it should be kept from now on.
Okay.
Thank
Jump.
you.
Any thoughts on that, Jump, on judging a show in person versus as we are doing pre-recording?
I've done both actually, so I feel like in person, like, it's cool, whatever, but I feel like the video light shows, they're getting time to actually, focus on it rather than the hype that's going on the outside. Also, being a judge, judging in person, there's a lot of heat on you. The person can come up to you and actually like ask you like, hey, like, how was that? You gonna give me a good score and whatever? And like if you don't, like, but I do like the video
I'm
like
waiting for the day somebody tries to bully a score out of you.
oh, I know. I'll be like, you know what, sir? Write this down. You know what? I'll be like this. You know what? That. Just there it is. But
Cap
no,
Jump, ladies and gentlemen.
yeah, it's
Cap
like,
Jump.
but no, the video like shows, like how Les was saying, I like being able to have the time to actually, focus on it and see what's going on. Of course, there's the downside of it because I love in-person light shows, so it's kind of like I'm 50-50 on the fence of like both of the things. Like I get what I get, but it's not really what I want. But on in person, it's kind of like, you don't even know if you're getting the full like POV of it. Are you in the correct like angle? It's like I feel like I'd have to have the person right here who's getting light show and me right here next to them be like, hey, like I don't got COVID, but I'm here to watch the light show with you, okay?
Same,
Nice.
I love you,
same.
Jump. I love you so much.
That is such a good point. Like the point of view that you're also getting from, typically you have 2 people trading and then you're pretty much like over the shoulder standing sometimes or like kneeling far to the left
Just like getting
and
that side view.
I just
Yeah,
want to be
it's
I just
hard.
want to be like with them like right behind me, like when you give somebody like 2 light shows and they're like right here, just sit in my lap really quick and this will be really quick.
Jump's trying to cuddle puddle as a judge.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna ask like next time we have in-person live shows. I'm gonna tell them like, hey, like if you really want a good score, you're gonna let me and also your opponent. We're gonna be sitting like right here, kumbaya, okay?
I love it. I love it, Jump. That's
Nice.
amazing.
I want to again. I'm hearing the differences, the similarities, seeing a show in person, judging it, or pre-recording, and then just looking back, also like in like a little like the street dance world. Um, there's 2 events actually. One was Fiction versus Havoc. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with Fiction. So
I heard about that event.
and you can YouTube it. You can see it. Type in Fiction versus Havoc, and it was an event where it was Fiction going against a well-known flexor. And when you see the video, like you just watching it on YouTube with high quality, you're like, yeah, I could see how Fiction took it, the movement and the quality. Then there's another video where it's more like raw, like it's like somebody was recording it, and it's interesting how your perspective on who you thought won changes depending on if you're there or if you're watching it. A second example was in LA. There was another event where it was poppers versus flexors, and I was there. And the vibe, the music, the energy, the crowd, like I would give it to the poppers during that battle. Then you watch the footage and there's just something, it's like there's a lens that just takes things away, and all of a sudden like your perspective changes. So I find that fascinating. And then the other example, because I know we were talking about impacts and impacts, it's missing that quality in person on a camera. It's something is missing about that. And the way I look at that is animation, the dance style animation, which is a lot about like moving in frames and being very like details, these details. You can look up, there's 3 people in particular. One is Bopping Andre, Flat Top, and Robozilla. These are nicknames for dancers that are very animated. The way they move, it looks unreal, but because it's being recorded and depending on the camera and the frames per second, it gets like people don't get it. They'll be like, "Oh, like
It's
that was
filtered.
cool." Right, the filter, like you'll be like, "Oh, that was nice." But when you see like, these are things that you need to see in person. And my experience, because when I saw gloving, I was watching like the Amazing Lights tutorials and the videos, and when Status Silver had the contest, back in the day, and I was like, let me look up like what's Amazing Lights, and there was these people that were, mumbles or these glovers that I was seeing. I was like, that was really pretty. And then when I came to California, Orange County, and I met Cypher. Was that his name? Cypher. And he was like, "Oh yeah, like I'll give you a show. Like you haven't got a show before." I was like, "Yeah, sure." So I sit down, and it was totally different seeing it in person.
I love how the fact that your first light show was Cypher, just to completely
Yeah.
spoil everything from there on out going forward. That's just a perfect like. We miss you, Cypher. By the way, just saying we miss. You back.
Oh, he still gives
Totally.
light shows. When I see him, I'm like, hey, you're gonna give me a light show, right? And he goes, maybe. I'm like, I
You're
know.
literally his captain. He's like required to do that. Like that's. I used to
But
have that
he's
power.
the one who I run into at events like randomly. Like I'll be there and they're like, oh hey sister. I'm like, where'd you come from?
I do run into him at events too. But anyway, guys, that was an absolutely amazing roundtable discussion. We had a lot of good back and forth. You guys are awesome. But I think we're gonna close it out there for today. We are going to be back on Friday with 4 more Glovers again. Those are Fry Guy, Lakaios, Mute, and JPEG. And of course, another roundtable discussion to follow. Thanks again to our judges, Jump and Lust, and to Animated J. We'll see you on Friday.
Just